price of fuel is expected to worsen in April. Of course, we're all worried about that. Fuel has been rising steeply for months, and motorists are already paying over 21 Rand per litre of fuel. There is some good news around at the moment, though. It may not be enough to stop a petrol price hike, but perhaps it might soften the blow a little. And what we're talking about is the recent stronger Rand. So it touched 14.50 Rand to the dollar last week, which was a 5-month high after the Reserve Bank raised interest rates. It has softened since, but it remains at relatively strong levels. Now let's look at the oil price. Let's see if we can bring those up with our commodities board. And there you can see Brent crude oil that we import for fuel is trading lower today. Again, good news in terms of the petrol price, although it comes after weeks and months of very high rises as many countries are shunning oil. So looking at that price, $112 or so per barrel, which was down nearly 7%. Oil has retreated, and that's not because of what's happening with Russia and Ukraine. It's actually because of what's happening in terms of China facing a resurgence of COVID-19, and that could mean less demand for oil. So that is pushing the price down for a change rather than oil going up after it shot through $100 per barrel due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. All right, let's take a look at your other main financial indicators. Let's move from the indicators that are affecting our petrol price at the moment and talk about diesel. There's some confusion about the Diesel Refund Scheme. National Treasury has indicated that carbon taxes will rise and subsidies for fossil fuels will be phased out in future. But what does that mean for those who rely on the Diesel Refund Scheme that was introduced in the year 2000? It's time for our weekly chat with our economics editor, Tshepo Mongoai. Great to have you with us, Tshepo. Tell us firstly about this refunds scheme and what it entails.
Well, as you correctly pointed out, it was introduced in 2000 to help certain sectors, including agriculture, mining, forestry, and a slew of sectors to deal with rising fuel prices. So obviously these sectors are able to claim a certain portion. Usually it's about 40 or 50% of what they had spent in terms of the levy that they're charged on the price of fuel and the road accident fund levy. So they're able to get that money back. So obviously it's an important source of income for many sectors of our economies in order to be sustainable and to be competitive in the industry.
So you're saying they're using a lot of diesel in the course of their business, and government gives them almost half of that back, saying, okay, we're going to help you because of the high prices.
Absolutely. So they are able to claim that money back. But there are concerns. Obviously, government realized that there is a window of abuse that can be created with that. For example, if it's a farmer who must use that particular, who must get a rebate, those rebates, who claim those rebates, can actually use portion of that diesel, for example, for road, use his, for his vehicles, and is not supposed to be used for.
Because then you should pay the road accident fund.
Absolutely, but you find
so this is for tractors and things that should stay on the farm.
So this is what government is trying to move. SARS is trying to make sure that this is based on certain activities rather than sectors, so that you are able to track. But there's been a lot of complaints from farmers because for the long time these claims were linked to VAT. But there are changes now in the pipeline where you can actually claim even though you're not VAT registered, you can be able to create a profile and then be able to claim that money back. Just to give you an example, Francis, in the UK, they are able to differentiate. They've got what is called the red diesel and the white diesel. So the red diesel is used for sectors that qualify to use it, while the white diesel is usually for road. Now, from the 1st of April, they're going to take away those rebates or the use of the red diesel from certain sectors like the construction, which is up in arms because they are facing huge costs. But back at home, the issue of environment, we've made commitment at COP26 that we're going to reduce our carbon emissions by 2050, and we should be seen to be doing something. But yet, for example, Eskom, they receive huge amount of those rebates because they ban a large amount of diesel, and they are compensated for that. So those are the questions that needs to be asked. That if of course the agricultural sector, they will defend this rebates because it's their bloodline. They rely on this, but there are issues of environment that needs to be raised. So
you're right. Government wants to provide disincentives to use that dirty energy, and of course diesel would be right up there as one of the dirty fuels. So what's happening? I mean, is there talk on the cards to end this? Is there any sort of timeline from the people that you've spoken to? Absolutely not. I mean, there are changes that are in the pipeline, of course. Probably maybe in the future, like what we're seeing in the UK, we could see certain sectors excluded from being able to claim those rebates, and then some sectors being allowed depending on how important that is. But at the moment, what SARS is trying to ensure is that, for example, farmers are no longer allowed to use these rebates to claim it for transporting workers. So, but how do you police that? How are they going to know that the farmer actually did not use that diesel to transport workers? There are issues around the logbook. That they will introduce a logbook to make sure that the SARS is able to track, how the diesel is used on farms and how it's stored and how much they've bought and how much they've dispersed. So those are issues that they're trying to deal with at the moment. But the issue of environment, it's still not on the table. Hard to track, and I presume it's highly illegal to go and sell on the diesel that you're getting a rebate for at any sort of normal price. No, absolutely. You can't do that because that will be illegal. But at the moment, what is important is to make sure that those sectors that still enjoy being able to claim for those rebates actually claim for what they've actually used on those specific activities that they are generating in the sector, and avoid abuse. I mean, there are other issues around people who still have to pay road accident fund levy when they use diesel, but they're actually using it for other activities. So I think those are the issues that needs to be clarified, but also important to make sure that there's less abuse in terms of this the diesel rebate scheme. All right, thank you. And we'll chat next Monday. We have a weekly segment with our economics editor, Tshepo Mongoai. He will be with us next Monday, looking at interesting stories that sometimes we don't always track. In fact, Tshepo, there he goes in front of the